All right, everyone, welcome back into another props video. Going to be breaking down the top prop bets today on PrizePicks and Underdog, probably just for MLB and NBA, but if there are any other good prop bets, we're going to be calling that out for you guys. But first, let's go ahead and get into a quick recap from yesterday. So yesterday I ended up doing two videos, one for NBA and then one for Flex Friday. I mentioned with the NBA video that we could be getting news that Garland or Mobley would end up being active. And obviously if one of those two were active, then the Sam Merrill prop bet would not be good. So basically half the people that watched it yesterday and not the day before, probably did not end up getting to Sam Merrill. And that is important because then they probably just ended up on these two prop bets for that early game. 3 for 4 though, well, kind of trying to do the guessing game of whether or not Garland and Mobley were going to play. We'll take that, pretty solid stuff there for NBA. And then yesterday for the Flex Friday slips, gave you guys a game stack for Milwaukee. Ended up on kind of the wrong combination of players. That ended up being the correct spot. The Vegas data was right about that. Just kind of ended up on the wrong spots. Really just needed more volume to that stack. Same thing here with bet of the day for the 5 or 6 slip bet here, guys. Ends up going 5 for 6. Did end up with a few 6 for 6 lineups myself, just kind of going heavier volume wise because we were getting such good prop bets. So just naturally this one was adjusted out in some of those slips. Again, just using the 9 to 5 slip optimizer. So ended up being a pretty solid day overall. We'll take that. 11 for 17 on the day. Unfortunately, the underdog prop bets went 0 for 2. We were getting some pretty good middling opportunities there and just some advantages there. They both ended up missing, so hopefully you guys got to those on PrizePicks instead. But let's go ahead and get into the top prop bets for today. And so today is actually looking like a pretty darn good day on paper, just with the amount of good prop bets that we have going today. So it's almost like too difficult to give you guys a specific bet of the day with the amount of good prop bets that we have today. That's the biggest issue that we're facing here, guys. Scrolling down the list, like just in general from the 9 to 5 PrizePicks cheat sheet, we have like 15 bets that are popping up as good prototypical bets that we want to be targeting. Now, yes, they are all fantasy score prop bets for whatever reason. Like if we go to the popular tab here, none of those are popping up here. It's just like mind numbing. I don't really understand it. Like you see the success with the fantasy score prop bets and oh, here we go. Never mind. We're getting some decent ones here for MLB. All right, good start. And actually this Aaron Judge one is actually one of the better ones that we are getting on the day for his over hitting fantasy score. And I actually wonder if the reason why people are betting on it is because he's only gotten the over once recently. I wonder if that's actually what's going on here. And let's actually start with Aaron Judge there. And we'll see if we have any other prop bets. I'm surprised. There we go. Slow cat for some of the MLB prop bets popping up for the fantasy score bets. But let's just take a peek here. Aaron Judge for over his hitting fantasy score, it's just kind of a clear edge here as well. If you are someone that maybe is wanting to bet the under, you could bet the under on Underdog. Okay, the Underdog line is about 11.5 when we adjust it for PrizePicks scoring. Again, there's a slight adjustment for Aaron Judge. It actually does matter, the slight differences. Mostly in the walks is the biggest difference there, and so that's why Underdog is typically a little bit higher, but still pretty good bet there. I'm actually curious. Let's jump into the MLB tab. We'll take a peek at those more specifically. And so this kind of calls out why it's a good bet. It is a game in which the Yankees are favored to win by 1 run, and it's a game in which the run total is 10. So typically speaking, I do want to be targeting games that are going to be higher scoring, obviously for some over hitting fantasy score bets. We do have some more that are coming in. Daniel I don't know. I have to look this one up. For under his fantasy score of 5. Now we are seeing like some differences in his projected at bats, and so it's interesting. It is a lower scoring game, and they're projected to lose by 1.5 runs. And so with that, yeah, if he does only get 2.5 at bats or 2 at bats, maybe 3 at bats, then yeah, obviously that's going to increase his likelihood to get the under, and that's part of the reason as to why some of the data points are liking the under. I'm going to assume that he's been on a little bit of a hot stretch, and that's why he's at 5. And we'll take a peek at it. Okay, so that is what is going. It's crazy how you can just figure that stuff out. So yeah, that's why it's at his line of 5 there, guys. Just found a little bit of a hot stretch. But again, Vegas is just telling us that his likelihood to get the under is pretty heavy. And even just looking at the lines that we're getting in here, what is the one that we're being told to bet on in terms of like a goblin? It is his hitter strikeouts. We're getting a standard line for his hits. We're a standard line for his total bases of 0.5. Everything else is like a demon because it's not likely to hit. And so obviously if he's not going to hit, if he's not going to walk, if he's not going to run, then yes, that's going to bode well for us. That's a seemingly pretty good prop bet. So we are going to be betting on him to get under his fantasy score. Then another bet that we are getting that's a decent bet is going to be Adam Frazier to get under 4.5 for his hitting score. Again, all the data points are telling us to do the exact same thing there. Luis Rios for over his hitting fantasy score in this high scoring game. So this is, again, we do have a little bit of a stack and opportunity here is what I'm seeing. So let's actually just take a peek at that game specifically if we can. We had New York versus the Athletics, and so we'll just take a peek at that. And so part of the slip optimizer I want to work in is a way in which we can do stacks. That was something I basically had done until they started to significantly discount these. And so it's like, it's not like worth it in the practical sense to like have that, because if we're doing a 6 slip bet, but that 6 slip bet is paying out 5x, it's not worth it, right? And so trying to figure out kind of how to correct that right now. But anyways, I think that'd be fun. But looking at it, like plenty of good bets here, right? Especially if you're just going off of like the underdog differences as well. Paul Goldschmidt, Brett Roker. And then you also have Aaron Judge for over his hitting fantasy score. So like several very good bets here. Again, the issue with like the stacks that we had yesterday in the Milwaukee game, which ended up being pretty high scoring, was just being on the correct ones for one. But you can really only do a 4 slip bet. If you add in a 5th or 6th slip or bet to that slip, then you're really reducing your payout. And so that does become a little bit of an issue there. But all these are seemingly pretty darn good. And so I'm perfectly fine to use these. It's just up to you guys which way you want to go with them. Again, they're all a little bit too low given the amount of runs are expected in this game. From there, let's actually just look at every other game but that game as well, just kind of eliminate that game. And then Josh Jung for over his hitting fantasy score 3.5 is solid. Junior for over his, this is just so weird though. So I mentioned yesterday, and I want to touch on this real quick as well, because yesterday we did see that the PG or the PrizePicks prop board for hitting fantasy score was giving us a lot of those lower fantasy score prop bets. And although yesterday ended up being a very solid day for that, we do still kind of got to see how this works out, because again, we typically do not get those low hitting fantasy score lines. They started to do that with the NBA, where they just become like these players that are not getting that many minutes or typically aren't that big of a fantasy score producer. It just creates a little bit more volatility in there. Like for NBA, if a player gets a block or a steal, that's a big data point for someone that's maybe projected their like fantasy score line is 15 or something like that. That's a big data point that's coming in there as well. Obviously that does occur here with hitting as well, but the difference for baseball is that it in some aspects it does become like a yes or no whether something is going to happen or not. Like, oh, are they going to get a hit? Are they going to get a run? Is that a yes or no? And so there is a little bit of a difference in there, but obviously that is being factored into the data points that we have going in. So did want to call that out, but let's jump back into the board. And so again, guys, just so many good ones. Let's just go where the data correlates as well. The issue is a lot of these bets are correlating pretty well. Like we're not reducing that many bets there as well. So again, if you just want to go where like maybe we're getting some underdog lines and some prop line differences there, you can. Jose Ramirez is one that sticks out to me when we do that. So Jose Ramirez, you look at that fantasy score line. Okay. And so he is projected to get about 7.8, which is right in the middle, which we'd like to see that. About 3.6 at bats, which is a little bit lower than his average, and it is a low run total. So we don't like that aspect of it. But maybe this is one where you do run out the under on Underdog and the over on PrizePicks. Like I could see doing that as well. So definitely some interesting stuff there with that line as well. So with that, let's go ahead and just jump on into some more prop bets that we're getting elsewhere. Now, I do want to touch on some PGA prop bets real quick. These are about to go live just as an FYI, so maybe not too worthwhile. The course is playing a little bit easier today, kind of like it did in round 1. So and most of you guys don't care. But what happened is it's a new course. So what happened is we didn't know exactly what to expect. Round 1 ended up playing pretty easy because they had soft greens. Soft greens pretty much just means they're more receptive. Golfers can control their golf ball a little bit more. And so with that, the scoring was easier. Then yesterday occurred round 2 where there's a little bit of wind there, which actually ended up making the course play much more difficult. And so the biggest question was, would it be easier to score today or harder to score today or a little bit in between? It does look like it's a little bit on the easier side of scoring, but not as much as round 1. And so this first profit that we have popping up, Seb Straka to get over 4 birdies better, that actually seems like a pretty darn good prop bet there. And so not a bad bet if you guys want to get there. You certainly can, but again, don't want to spend too much time on these because they are going to be going live shortly. Let's go ahead and jump back into the cheat sheet just in general, see which other prop bets that we are getting. Let's just take off MLB because again, we're getting so many good MLB MLB bets. And so we're just going to take that off. And then we are still getting some good prop bets. So we have Mason Greenwood for over 3.5 shots in soccer. So a decent prop bet there. Pascal Siakam, guys, to get over his fantasy score of 29.5. Definitely an interesting line that we have going there. We got Dort for under his fantasy score. So this kind of goes back to what I was just saying with the MLB lines. It's like Dort is someone that if he gets a block and a steal or something like that just makes up so much of the fantasy score there. Like that's a third of his fantasy score. That becomes crazy. Man, we're getting plenty of good soccer prop bets as well. So even more, guys, like we're just getting too many good prop bets today. Probably going to be a high volume day for me, and just it's tougher to break it down when we're getting that many good ones. But I do want to take a peek at the Siakam one. We're going to take a peek at some of the soccer prop bets as well. And if anyone knows anything about soccer, let us know in the comments section below. And so this is fascinating. This is one of the bets that were popping up for us yesterday as a good under bet, especially going against Cleveland. Again, Cleveland with their two bigs is much more likely to stop someone like Siakam. And so the fact that he is, looking like a good under bet or over bet is interesting here. I kind of like it. I kind of don't. I don't know exactly how I feel about this. Obviously, he's had a few bad games in a row. Just takes a little bit more. I could see wanting to bet the over there. Man, I probably will, but not a bet that I feel like I need to go out of my way to target. And I'm so sick of this bouncing. It's super annoying. All right. So actually one of the popular bets on the board today is Mason Greenwood, probably for his under, guys. It's a popular bet. 3,000 people have bet on it, and I'm guessing it's going to be for the under. So it's always tough to gauge that. Like, are people actually looking at cheat sheets and betting the over there, or are they just looking at the last 5 average? We know for the most part, people are just doing a dumb thing, and that's just doing this. All right. He hasn't gotten the over in the last 5. Okay. Hasn't always gotten the over 4 straight. Like, it's just dumb that people do that. It's just, I've been over this a bunch. Don't need to retouch on that, rehash that. But seemingly a good bet for his over shots of 3.5. I think we can get there. Then we have Frank there as well. Very similar one where he's only gotten the over once recently. I don't know much about soccer, but it is kind of worth calling that out. I think I'm okay betting that over as well. And we are getting even more guys. Like, again, we got Dort. We got Murray for under their fantasy scores. We actually have Russell Westbrook for over his fantasy score. Just, again, too many good bets to go off of. Anthony Edwards is an interesting one as well. Looking at his under fantasy score, again, compared to Underdog. That PrizePicks line is slightly too high, and then all the other data points are also agreeing with that. So again, a lot of interesting spots here with today's board. It's a Saturday. We're getting plenty of good prop bet. And then just taking a quick peek here, guys, at the Underdog board, we are getting Paul Goldschmidt for over his hitting fantasy score, a better bet for you guys on PrizePicks. Brett Rocker for over his hitting fantasy score, again a better bet on PrizePicks. Pete Alonso for under his hitting fantasy score is a good bet here, better bet here than on PrizePicks. Jose Altuve for under his fantasy score is fine on both sides. Soto under his fantasy score is fine on both sides. You got Vlad Guerrero for under his hitting fantasy score, better bet here on Underdog. Ellie De La Cruz, basically the same on both sides. We are getting an interesting UFC prop bet, difference in the significant strikes, but worth calling that out. So a lot of good spots, I would say, today in general, but just going to stick to PrizePicks for the bet of the day. So before we go ahead and get into the 9 to 5 bet of the day here, guys, do want to remind you guys of the 9 to 5 membership. You guys can get access to all the top prop bets each day for PrizePicks and Underdog, all for just $10 a month. Including that is going to be a bunch of fantasy golf tools as well. The PGA Championship is knocking on the door as well, so you guys can get access to that. Again, all for just $10 a month. I priced it that way for you guys. Take advantage of that. It's a great deal. Again, if you guys want access to this, head on over to the pricings and plans tab on 9to5sports.com. Again, get access for just $10 a month. And so getting into the 9 to 5 bet of the day here, mostly just looking at MLB. We have some NBA prop bets we could target. But I do like the stacking ability that we have here, guys, with today's slate. So, looking at the stacks, doing some Atlanta stacks with Yankees as well. So 3 of the bets in the 6-slip bet are from that game that's supposed to be high scoring and in which we are getting a lot of good prop bets. Now, if Vegas is wrong about how that game's going to go, maybe not 10 runs are scored, obviously that's not going to be good. But this is a slip in which it did not reduce the payout at all. We were still able to get our 25x, which is obviously what we always want to be doing. With that, we are hitting 2 of the better lower fantasy score prop bets. And also, I am obviously targeting prop bets that are not going to be going live too soon, hopefully. So I did want to call that out. And then another interesting bet is going to be kind of keeping that same theme, but these are all players where at least they've been a little bit hot in terms of getting their overs. The projection data really likes the over, as well as the over for the average sportsbook line, or the sportsbook line and the projection data really agrees with the bets that we are targeting here, guys. So especially with these over fantasy score prop bets. So again, up to you guys to choose. We have too many good prop bets that are going on today. Going to be a high volume day today. Leave a like on this video. Appreciate you guys being here. Subscribe to the channel if you guys have not done so before. If you guys want access to any of the tools that you saw in this video, head on over to 9to5sports.com. Get access again to everything available on the website for just $10 a month. Thank you for watching. Good luck. And as always, let's keep cashing.